morning, everybody. I'm so glad to have you all here today. Let's just close our eyes and pull those shoulders back and down and begin to breathe really, really deep into our belly. Start to feel the core activate. We'll open up a little bit in our low back. We'll feel our sitting bones root down into our mats. Take some really big, deep inhales. Match those exhales. Exhale until all of the air has escaped. Every breath, just going to release some of that tension that we may be holding in our shoulders or in our jaw. Slowly open up our eyes and inhale, lifting our hands up to the sky, dropping those shoulders, nice tall spine. And then we'll exhale, bringing them over to the right. We can let that right hand find the floor and we'll reach up and over with that left hand. Inhale back up and exhale over to the other side. Pressing that right hip down into our mats, reaching with the fingers, keeping ourselves nice and long on that right side. Good. Inhale, let's all the way up to the sky. And exhale, let's just do a little forward fold. We can even round the back and just kind of roll up into a little ball down here. Good. And then walking our hands backwards, rolling ourselves all the way up. Hands come up high. And then again, exhale, let's fold forward. Maybe this time we keep a straight back, hinging at the hips, bringing those hands and our noses forward. And we'll keep our chests nice and low and we'll walk our hands over to one side, bringing our chest over that knee. And then back to the center. Exhaling, let's walk those hands a little bit forward. And then when we're ready, we'll go over to the other side. And then back to the center. One more breath here. And then we'll walk our way back up to seated. Nice and tall. Good. Let's lengthen here in the spine. And then we'll just walk our hands over to the right. Little twist here. We're not looking to force ourselves into anything. We're just warming up the back. So just a little twist. Good, and back to the center again. Inhale, lengthen, and then exhale, we'll walk ourselves around to the left. then back to the center. We'll bring those hands down to our mats and we'll rock our way forward onto our hands and our knees. Fingers are wide underneath of our shoulders. Knees are underneath of our hips. And now we're just going to start at the tail end. And we're just going to tilt the pelvis. So we'll tuck our tail. And then we'll spill it forward. So really we're only looking at that low back, moving ever so slightly, tucking and spilling forward, tucking and spilling forward. Let's do one more of each of those, rounding in that low back. So when we tuck, we should feel this open up quite a bit. And then as we spill forward, our tummy will open up. And then back to a neutral spine. Make ourselves nice and long, breathing deeply into our bellies. And now let's move into our shoulders. So we'll just sink that chest down, bringing the shoulders together behind us. And then pressing away with those hands opening up behind us. And slowly we lower down and press. Lower, and press. Let's do one more of each. Bringing those shoulders together and then opening them up behind us. And then back to that neutral spine. So we'll find that halfway point right there. And now let's do our cats and cows, but we're going to start at our tail. We're going to tuck that tail. Begin to round all the way up until our chin begins to tuck at the very, very end. And then starting at our chin, we lift the chin, begin to arch all the way down our spine until our tail is at the end of that. And then again, starting at the tail, curling our way in. And lifting the chin and arching in that whole spine. Let's do that one more time. Tuck the tail, round all the way up to our chin. Good. And then lift all the way down to our tail and back to that neutral spine again. Very nice. And now I'll just do our little puppy wags. So we'll bring our shoulder and our hip together to one side. And then over to the other side. Back and forth. Good. Let's do one more to each side, make it even. And then back to the center again. Beautiful. Excellent. So from here, let's press and we'll bring our hips back to our heels. Arms can come out long into a child's pose. And we'll just take a couple of breaths here. Reaching those fingers out long, pulling the shoulders away from our ears. Hips are low. Good. And then inhale, let's come up to our little plank. Knees can stay on the floor. Hips come forward, shoulders over our wrists. Proud chest. And then we'll just let those hips begin to sink, not droop. Just sink down. We'll begin to open up in those hip flexors. Good. And then press back, hinging at the hips, back to our child's pose. Good. Inhale, coming on forward. And then pressing back. Good. Just getting those hips moving around. Inhale, we'll come forward. Let's stay here in this little plank for a little bit longer. Good. And then exhale, we'll bring the chest forward ever so slightly so that our elbows stay over our wrists as we lower ourselves down to our tummies. Hands are underneath of our shoulders. And then when we inhale, we'll scoop that chest forward and then lift using those back muscles into our baby cobra. And then exhale, coming back down. We'll press back to our child's pose. Very good. Let's come up to our little plank. This time we're going to bring our right foot forward into a little lunge. Wiggle your way into that lunge. And now exhale, let's work our hips backwards so that stay over this left knee, and the right toes will point up to the sky into our half split. Our hands can come to our thigh, to our hips if we want to just kind of feel the hinge that we are going, we're working on in that hip. We can walk our way down to the shin, come to the toes, to the floor. We're working our nose to the toes here, instead of down to that kneecap. Good. Inhale, let's come forward into that little lunge. And exhale, work our way back. Good. Inhale, we come forward. And exhale, we go back. Inhaling forward. And exhaling back. Inhale, we'll come forward and our hands will find the floor on either side of that right foot. Left leg is still out, nice and soft. We'll keep that left hand on the floor and the right hand comes up for our twist, reaching those right fingers up to the sky. We'll sink the hips down into that lunge. Nice and strong in this left shoulder. You're not just gonna droop down. We're not here for the drooping. Good, and back down. And we'll take that right foot back and we'll take a couple of breaths in our child's pose. And when we're ready, we'll come up to that little plank again. Tuck the tail, lengthen in the spine, let those hips sink just a little bit. Good. And then we'll take that left foot and bring it on forward. Wiggle our way into our lunge. And when we're ready, walking our way back into our half split on this side. Toes point up to the sky, hinging at the hips, so keeping our spine as straight as we can as we bring ourselves down toward that left leg. Big breaths, using that exhale to help relax into our fold just a little bit further. Good, and then inhale, let's come forward. And then exhale, we'll go back. Inhale, forward. Exhaling back. inhaling forward. Last time, let's exhale back to that little split. And inhale, coming on forward into that lunge. Our hands can find the floor again on either side of that foot. And keep the right hand where it is. Sink those hips down. Press into that right hand so we're nice and strong. And then lifting the left up to the sky. Little twist here. And back down to our mats. Let's tuck that right toe back behind us. We'll step back and we'll go back into our downward facing dog. So pedaling those legs, wagging our tails, getting ourselves situated into our downward facing dog. Pulling the shoulders back away from our wrists, even glancing forward, make sure we don't have those little creases in our wrists. As we press back, shoulders are working down towards our tails, actually up because our tails are going up toward the sky. Good, and then little tiny steps, pressing the heels down into our mats as we slowly walk forward towards our hands, eventually ending up into our forward fold. Bend those knees, pull round in the spine, and we'll slowly roll our way up. Hands come all the way up to the sky. And exhale, let's bring those knees and thighs together and we'll sit down into our chair. Good, inhale, big circles with those arms. And all the way up to the sky. And then exhale again, big circles with those arms. Get those shoulders warmed up and sit down into that chair. Good, inhaling up. And exhaling down. Inhaling up. And exhaling down. Let's sit down into that chair, holding here. Feel our tummy start to press in towards those thighs as we work really hard to keep that core working. Good, inhale, nice and tall. And then exhale, let's hinge forward down into a fold. Good, from here, our feet are about hip width apart now. Realistically hip width apart. Our hips are not as wide as we may think they are. Good. And now from here, we're going to bend the right knee. We're going to keep that right hand on the floor, straightening the left leg, beginning to lift the left arm up to the sky. Good, and back down to our fold, bending those knees. And then we'll move over to the other side. So left hand will stay, left knee will bend as deeply as it needs to so that that left hand can be on the floor. We straighten that right leg and begin to raise the right hand up to the sky. Think about lengthening all along that leg. Opening up the outside of that hip, little twist in the spine, multitasking here. And slowly we'll come back down to the fold. We can release those hands, hang out here for a breath, maybe two. And then inhale, let's lengthen in the spine, looking forward. Hands can find the shins or the floor. Flat back, long legs. And then exhale, let's fold forward. Bring those hands down to the ground and we'll step back into our downward facing dog. And inhale forward into our version of plank today. Plank can be on our toes, can be on our knees, whatever feels the best today. And it might change throughout the practice. It's totally fine. Good. Exhale, let's lower ourselves all the way down. And then inhale, scooping our chest forward and then up into an upward facing dog. Let's tuck those toes, lift the hips, press ourselves back to a downward facing dog. We'll lift up the right leg back behind us. Good. Kick ourselves in the bum. Open up that hip. But now let's try and turn those shoulders so that they're still parallel to the ground. Woo. And then slowly, we'll begin to bring that knee into our chest and step forward into a full lunge. Good. Finding our balance, we'll lift those hands up to the sky. Again, from here, if we need to drop that knee at any time, please do. Good. Now let's take that right hand back behind us, twisting to the right. And back up to the center. And now here, let's drop that left heel back behind us and we'll open up for warrior two. Good. Inhale, let's do an extended reverse warrior. Both legs are nice and long, reaching back behind us with that right arm. Good. Back down to our warrior two. Again, reverse warrior. Both legs can come nice and long. And back down to our warrior two. And now let's shift those hips, sass them back over to the left, lengthening that right leg, reaching with our right arm. We should feel a lot of length here. And then we'll drop the right arm, keeping our ribs exactly where they were, lifting the left hand for triangle. And slowly we'll bend that right leg, come back to warrior two, and then cartwheel those hands down to the mat. And we'll step forward with the left leg into our forward fold. Inhale to a flat back. Exhale, we fold. Bend those knees and we'll slowly roll our way up, nice and tall. Good. Let's exhale, bringing our thighs together, sitting down into our chair. Good. Inhaling up. Exhale, let's fold forward. So if we need to, we can bend our legs so that our fingers find the floor. We're going to take this left leg and we're going to step back behind that right foot for a little crisscross action as we fold. Using that exhale, lower down and drop our head. Good. And then slowly we'll unwind and Bend those knees again if we would like for stability with our hands. And we'll go over to the other side. So right leg steps back behind. And then exhale, we'll fold and begin to straighten those legs a little bit more. And then unwinding, releasing our feet from that tangle back to our forward fold. Inhale to our flat back, long legs. And then exhale, we fold. And we'll step back to our downward facing dog. Good. Inhale, let's come forward to our version of plank. Exhale, we'll lower down. And inhale to an upward facing dog. Let's tuck those toes, lift our bums up toward the sky, into our downward facing dog. Let's lift up that left leg this time. Pressing the heel back behind us, still lengthening in the spine. And then we'll kick ourselves in the bum, open up the hip only, keeping our shoulders parallel to the mat or to the floor. Little twist. Good. And then slowly, again, bringing the knee into our chest and stepping forward to our lunge. When we're ready, let's lift those hands up high. And twist to the left. So the left hand will go back, right hand comes forward. And then try and keep our shoulders over the hips without doing a weird crunch in the low back. All of this is really, really not terribly easy. But we do our best. Good, and back up to the top. Sink down into that lunge. We'll drop the right heel and open up warrior two. Let's inhale, reverse warrior. Extend those legs nice and long. Reach back behind us. And then exhale down to warrior two. Inhale. Extended reverse warrior. And exhale back down. And now this time, let's sass those hips back behind us. Straighten the left leg. Reach forward with the left fingers. And then just drop the arm. Lift our right for triangle. Stacking the shoulders. Lifting from inside the thighs. Pressing down into our feet. Keep sassing those hips back behind us. Sassy hips. Good, and then slowly let's come back to our warrior two. And we'll cartwheel our hands back down. Let's step back downward facing dog. Good, we'll lift up that right leg. Kick ourselves in the bum again. And then slowly let's bring that knee into our chest. And hover and plank just a little bit. Good. Exhale, we'll press back. Inhale, bringing that knee all the way into our chest. See if you can crunch it nice and tight in there. And then press back to three-legged dog. Again, bringing it in, hovering for just a tiny bit. And then we'll place that knee behind our right wrist. And we'll set ourselves up for pigeon over here. Left leg is out behind us, nice and long. Right leg is bent. Our foot is flexed up here in the front, soft in the back. It's like the mullet of yoga poses. Take a few more breaths here. We're happy here on our hands. We stay here. If we would like, we can walk our hands forward into a sphinx arm to our elbows, or fold all the way back down to our chest. Good. Let's do one more big breath in. Inhale, nice and long. Exhale, let's sink down those hips a little bit further. And then on the next inhale, if we're not already there, helping ourselves up to our hands, we'll tuck that toe back behind us and lift and press back to downward facing dog. Wiggle it out, pedal those feet, wag the tail. And then we'll lift up that right leg again. We'll step forward into our lunge. And then we'll come up for a warrior two one last time. Ooh, I almost fell down. And now let's straighten that right leg. We'll work our way into triangle. We'll be here in triangle for just one breath. And we're going to challenge ourselves by bringing this left hand down toward the floor and twist, lifting the right in revolved triangle. So if we need, we can put that left hand on the shin, on a block, the couch if it's nearby. Good. And then slowly we'll come back down into our lunge. Good. Stepping back, downward facing dog. Pedal it out. Let's lift up that left leg. And bring the knee into our chest, hover and plank. Doing the same on this side now. Exhale, let's press back. Three-legged dog. Inhale, bring that knee in. Hug it tight as you can into your chest. And then press it back out. Last time, bringing it on in. And then we'll set ourselves up for pigeon on this side. So the left knee will come back behind the left wrist. Left foot is flexed. Right leg is nice and long. I like to walk it back a little bit and then pull that right hip forward so that our hips are still even as well as level. We don't want to be leaning off to either side. Take our few breaths here, see how we're feeling on this side. If we would like, we can lower down into our fold or not. It's completely fine, whatever you do. Stay here for 2 more breaths. And then when we're ready, as we inhale, We'll come back up onto our hands. We'll tuck that right toe back behind us. And we'll press back to downward facing dog. Again, wiggle it out if we need. And then we'll lift that left leg up again. We'll step forward into our lunge. And then we'll open ourselves up to warrior two here. And then when we're ready, coming on into triangle. So lengthening that left leg, sexing the hips back behind us, reaching forward, dropping the arm, opening nice and wide here for just a breath. And then slowly we'll work into revolved triangle. Right hand comes down, left hand comes up. And then slowly we'll come back down to our lunge. Lengthen from our heel all the way up to the top of our head. We'll drop that right knee. We'll step back with the left, come into our child's pose. Good. From here, keeping our hips over our heels, let's walk our hands over to one side. And then slowly walking all the way over to the other side. And then back to the center. Let's swish those feet over to one side. And we'll lower ourselves down all the way onto our butts. Bring our legs out in front of us. We'll roll up into our little ball, bringing our knees into our chest, and we'll rock back onto our backs. And we can rock forward and backward if we like. We can go side to side. Listen to what our body is needing right now. And then we'll settle on into our little egg, holding those knees nice and tight in, bringing our chin into our chest, forehead to our knees. And then exhale, we'll let our shoulders come down to the mat. And we'll take our legs and we're gonna cross them. I'm actually gonna go this way. We're gonna cross them lady style, knee over knee. So we'll bring the left leg over the right leg. And we'll reach forward and we'll grab our ankles or our feet. And as we exhale, we'll slowly just bring those legs in towards us. Relax the shoulders. Do one more big breath here. And then slowly unwind. And wiggle it out if we would like. And then we'll go over to the other side. So right leg goes over the left. And across the thighs to the knees. Holding those ankles, flexing the feet. And then exhale, lowering those shoulders down to the mat. Bringing the legs in with you. But keep pressing that tailbone down into our mats as well. one more breath here. Big inhale. Exhale, bring those legs in a little bit further. And gently release. You can wiggle, do little windshield wipers if we'd like. Good. And then bending those knees, bringing them to like a 90-degree here. We're gonna cross our legs again, taking that, we'll do the right leg over the left. And now this is like an eagle pose. So if you're good, you can cross your legs and wrap your foot all the way around the back of your left leg. But we're all pretty good. So if we can just get those legs crossed, that's great. We're gonna take our arms and just relax them to our sides and then bring our legs over to the left. So our right leg is over the left, trying to wrap around. In our brains, it's working really, really well. But what we're doing is we're gonna continue to twist in the spine, open up in the outer hip of that right side. We can take and bring our gaze over to the right as well. And now if you would like, we can take this left hand and just place it on top of the right knee to help like anchor it or encourage the twist just a little bit further, but we're not pushing, we're not forcing the body. We're just adding maybe a little bit of weight. To help keep the legs directing in the way that we want them to go. Let's do 2 more breaths here. Big inhales. Equally as big exhales. And we'll slowly unwind. Uncross those legs. Wiggle if we would like. And then we'll go over to the other side. So left leg, we'll wrap around the right as best we can. If we get close, good enough. Right, hands come down to our sides, and we'll take those legs over to the right side. But using that breath to let this left shoulder sink down in towards our mat. Our left hand, if we would like, can just rest on top of that our right hand can rest on top of the left knee. One more inhale. Stay for that exhale. And slowly come back to the center. We'll unwind. And we'll roll up into our little egg. Good. Let's open those knees nice and wide and we'll come into our dead bug. So holding our pinky toe side of our feet, knees are nice and wide. We'll lower all of our spine down into our mat, including that tail. And tuck our chin just a little bit to open up behind us in our neck. And just slowly bringing those feet and knees down in toward the mat. Good, and then let's release those legs. Roll up into our ball again. Pull those knees into our chest. Forehead comes into our knees. Big inhale here. And then exhale, let's release down into our Shavasana. Legs can come out long, or if we would like, we can just bend our knees, placing our feet on the ground. And so to our sides, palms up. And close our eyes. And just give ourselves permission to just be still for a few minutes. begin to deepen our breath. Slowly we'll wiggle our fingers and toes. And come back into our space. As we increase the movement in our bodies, we listen to what it wants. Does it need a wiggle or a twist or a stretch or more shavasana? Please give it what it needs right now. And when it is time, and not before, we'll roll over onto our side. We'll help ourselves up to a comfortable seated position. And we'll check in with how we are feeling right now after our practice and after our Shavasana. Shavasana means corpse pose, which in a way we have died and started anew. So from this moment, we are starting our lives over again. Good, fresh beginning. We bring our hands together at our hearts. We lower our head and give ourselves thanks for all of the gifts that we just received. I'm so thankful for your virtual presence, for allowing me to help you through your practice today. It is definitely a huge gift that you are giving to me when you tune in to this practice. And I appreciate all of your guys' support. I wish you all a very, very happy day and a great rest of your week. The light and the divine in me recognizes and respects the light and the divine in each of you. And when we are together, whether virtually or physically, we are one. Namaste.